Hello and welcome to the Stedman podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the election 2016, just kind of some of my thoughts and feelings on this whole entire election season. So stay tuned and listen right here on the Stedman podcast.
Everything's gonna be alright, gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Hush now, baby, don't you cry. I'ma sing you to sleep tonight. I know it's strange and hard to grasp the fact that we can understand the meaning of this life.
Good morning and welcome to the Stedman podcast. It's a beautiful day here in Stanton, Virginia on November the 9th, the day after Election Day. And today I really want to just talk about this whole ride that we have been on as Americans through this election night. Even the whole world who's probably been watching what's been happening over here with the presidential debates and the election and all the fun things that have happened or unfun things that have happened. But one of the things I really want to talk about is just kind of my thoughts and feelings on just elections in general. When I first started to get really into the whole election process, I was about 16 years old, and at the time in Ohio, or I don't know if it was just all of Ohio or it was just where I was voting at in Summit County, they had a thing where if you were 16 years of age, you could do like a mock vote. Basically, you would go to the polls with your parents, and your parents would get like the real polls, the old things where you'd have to slide the paper in and you'd have to like use a little thing and punch your ballots and do all that and then pull it out and then put it in a machine. We had a thing where you just had to circle the name. So it's like, oh, who do you want to be president? And you would circle like, oh, George Bush or Bill Clinton. You would circle those names. And then you turn them in. And what was nice about it is that they would kind of showcase those. They'd say, oh, according to the kids, the 16, 17-year-olds who are only a couple years away from voting, here's how they voted, and here's how they voted on these certain issues or certain things. So it was really interesting and fun, and I don't know if they still do that anymore. I know after the whole 2000 election with the hanging chads and Bush and Gore, both of them winning or both of them losing, and just the back and forth of that, I think they've kind of maybe did away with those. I'm not 100% positive, but having that moment, it really taught me about how important an election is, and it made me really feel like that, my voice mattered. My voice is important, and however I decide to vote is okay, whether I vote Democrat or Republican or Green, Independent, Libertarian, however I would vote, then that would be okay because your voice matters. And one of the things that I do ever since I've started voting is I really don't tell people about my political beliefs, and I don't tell people how I voted. And I think one of the reasons why I do that is when, again, doing those mock voting things, I would go with my dad, we'd vote and stuff, and my dad would always ask you, oh, how was voting, who'd you voted for, and one of the candidates, it was a U.S. House of Representatives candidate, and the person's name was Tom Sawyer. He was a Democrat, and he was in the district, which would be like the Akron area district. And again, as a 16-year-old who really doesn't know much about politics, this is my first time doing this mock vote, so I'm not someone who really does the research and the homework on who I should vote for. Most of the time, kids those age, they vote for whoever their parents vote for because that's what they know. Well, when I saw the name Tom Sawyer, I thought it was funny because of the book, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. So I voted for Tom Sawyer, and I remember when I told my dad I voted for Tom Sawyer, he was like, why would you vote for a Democrat, blah, 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 and ever since then I really don't talk, whether it's a fake vote, even if I'm voting for things like school board or certain issues that whether you vote yes or no, it is what it is. It's not like there's not a lot of feelings attached to certain things. I still don't talk about it. But one of the things that, since I started voting, one of the things that was always important to me is just figuring out where do I lie with my views. And I can remember taking a test in high school, and really I was kind of in the middle with my views and my beliefs. And over time, those have, they shifted a little bit, but they're mostly in the middle of everything. I'm not extreme on the right or extreme on the left. I'm kind of right in the middle. But throughout my years of voting, I've voted for Republican candidates. I've voted for Democratic candidates. I've voted for independents. The like. And and the reason why I vote differently is basically I do my research. I do a lot of research, especially now as I'm older, when it comes to elections, not just the major election like we had last night, but all elections that we have. And I kind of view the election season as taking a college course. When you go to college, you get a syllabus, and it tells you everything about the class, what you need to know, your assignments, how things are going to be graded, and at the end. So there's a lot of research that you kind of know. Here's what you need to do. And I feel like that's the same way. When election season comes, you know that, hey, you need to vote. At the end of the day, at the end of this season, you're going to have to place a vote. You can choose not to. You can choose to vote. But if you're going to vote, you need to make sure you know who you're voting for. Make sure you're making a good, wise choice, someone who reflects values, beliefs, someone who you think would be best to represent America and continue to develop progress for America, or however you want to do that. So throughout this election, I would do research. Most of my research basically came from a website called I Side With, which, if you're not familiar with that website, you log onto this website, they'll tell you, okay, here are the candidates that are running for president. And they'll ask you a bunch of questions. What do you believe about this? What do you believe about that? And you can make it as small or as extensive as possible. And at the end, when you click submit, they'll tally up your score, and they'll say, okay, you side with this candidate this percent. And they'll give you a percentage. Okay, your views and your beliefs are more for this candidate. So it was always important to know, okay, what does this... So when I first did that, it's like, okay, here are the my top 5 candidates. Let me research them. What are they about? And I don't necessarily go about what they believe. That's important, about their political stances, what they believe. I focus on that, but I also focus about who they are as a person. Because let's say if I had 2 people who are like in the upper 80, like 80%, I'm looking at my top person, I see, okay, there's a lot of questionable things about this person. They don't really have a good family life, home life. But the next person that's in line actually does, even though there may be a couple things I may not necessarily agree with. Most of the time I'm probably going to vote with that, because I feel like you have to have your beliefs, your values, what you stand for, but then you also have to see who you are as a person, who you are as a leader, and all that. And I think a lot of that has to go hand in hand when you're voting for a candidate, or at least for me, that's how I choose to vote. And even just a week ago, there was someone who said, I really don't know who to vote for. I'm kind of torn. I go, well, go to this site. You could do it as extensive or as little as you want, but then they'll kind of give you a good rough thing of who you need to vote for. And it helped them. They were able to do that, but that was also a week before election. And I feel like there's a lot of people who they wait till the day of to actually figure out who they're going to vote for. And I think that's kind of bad. I think, I'm happy with people who are with her, who were with her since the beginning, who was with her after, who were kind of Bernie supporters, who then joined Hillary Clinton's party just to kind of show unity amongst the Democratic Party. I think that was very good. And especially those who continue to stay course and continue to stay true, I think that's great. For people who did their research and they decide they're going to vote third party, and even though people are saying you're throwing away a vote because If you vote third party, then that's a vote for Hillary, or if you vote third party, that's a vote for Trump, and you shouldn't do that. You should vote for the primary ones. And the people who voted for Gary Johnson or Jill Stein or Evan McMillan, props to you. If you did your research and you say this is who I think is the best, then great. And especially those who voted for Trump. If you believe in Trump's mission, you believe that he's someone who could make this country great again, and you've been a supporter of his from the beginning to when you went to the poll and voted for him, then that's there's a respect for that too, because you've done your homework, and you think this is who I want as president, and you place your vote, then great. But the thing that probably bothered me the most is just all the hate, and I like to call it the mudslinging, throughout the whole entire election season. And then even the stuff I'm seeing today after the election, a lot of people who are happy and a lot of people who are absolutely miserable. And it bothers me. And I felt like throughout the whole entire election, the only peaceful day, and when I say peaceful, I mean things where there wasn't a lot of anger, a lot of mudslinging, a lot of people saying, oh, I hate you because you voted this way, was yesterday during election night. Because all the things I kept seeing on Facebook, or all the things I kept hearing, was your vote, your voice matters, your vote matters, goes out and vote, please vote, please vote. Like, these were these things that were like, hey, continue to, encouraging people to make their voices be heard. And everyone was very supportive of even waiting in line. There was a lot of people. I don't know who they voted for. Some of them I could assume that, they may voted for this candidate or that candidate based on, just kind of certain conversations that I was having with them. But at the same time, everything was very nice. People weren't trying to beat up people in line because they said that they supported one candidate over another. Everything just seemed to go very well. And then I wake up this morning and I check Facebook and other social media sites and news sites, and it's almost like it started back up again. There are people who are cheering in the streets, yay, Donald Trump won the presidency, woohoo, yay. And then you have people who are like, I can't believe our country's screwed. Our country's screwed. I can't believe Hillary didn't win. Oh, things are so horrible. Things are bad. And I have even seen extreme things of, here's the number for the suicide hotline. And I'm thinking, whoa, 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 whoa. Are there people out there, because Trump won, want to kill themselves? I mean, I've known people said if Trump won, they were going to leave the country, but now there's all this. There are people who basically said if you voted for Trump or if you voted third party, then you're part of the problem, so F you. And I'm just sitting here like, what the heck just happened? Why is there so much extremes within our community? I felt like and especially our leaders, I feel like there's so much great things we could learn from our leaders. You may not like Hillary, but the way she the stuff she said this morning about Trump and the presidency, she did it with grace. She did it with class. Even with President Obama, he even said before, goes, no matter how this election turns out, no matter who wins, things are still going to be okay. Things are going to continue to, there may be things, we've progressed in some ways, we've degressed in other ways, but America has always continued to move forward, and it's because of the people. And it's very interesting. I had a conversation with a guy who's originally from Kenya, and he took his test to become a United States citizen, did all that work to do that. And one of the things he said, he was saying how beautiful America is. Because this is a guy who has seen a lot of political turmoil and chaos over in Kenya. And he was saying, real change, the way the government's set up, real change doesn't come from top to bottom. It doesn't go from Washington down to your cities. But real change really happens from the cities up. So if you really want to make a difference, if you really want to make a change, if you really want to help people out, it basically is people that do the real change. It's not Donald Trump. It's not Barack Obama. It's not Hillary Clinton. Sure, they have some, they just because they're in a higher office, they do have some pull. But really, the real change always happens for us, everyday people doing ordinary or even extraordinary things. So I know a lot of people are like, I don't even know what to do now. I don't know what we're going to do. I can't even live. And this is the thing that I feel like I'm getting with America. And I want to do an illustration real quick. Many, many years ago, people were upset with Johnny Depp. They're upset with actor Johnny Depp because he decided to give up his United States citizenship and live over in France. And this was years ago. So people were saying, oh, he's un-American. He hates America, even though America gave him millions of dollars for these movies and blah, 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 whatever the case may be. But one of the things that Johnny Depp said I thought was very interesting. He said, he moved to France because France is an old country. It's a country that has had a lot of history, good history, bad history, and that France is a more distinguishable country. And he said America is still a young country. It's still in its infancy. And when I thought about those words, yeah, if you think about France or any European country or basically anything in Africa, Europe, anytime where we have history books of civilization, these places and governments and cities have been around for thousands and thousands of years. So there's always a lot of this history. Where America, especially, now America's been around for thousands of years too, but especially when these Western settlers start settling into America, especially from the Constitution and Declaration of Independence, America is only hundreds of years old. So America is a young country. And I feel like just the way people have been acting before and even after this election really just kind of communicates to the rest of the world that Americans are spoiled brats, and they are in its infancy because the people who voted, who wanted Trump to be president, they're gloating, ha, 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 yeah, go Trump, yeah. And then the people who wanted Clinton to win are crying, telling everyone, giving everyone the finger, telling everyone to expletive off, and then they're just basically crying, curling up in a ball, isolating themselves in their house. They took their ball and they went home, and they don't want to play anymore until 4 years when the election comes back up again, and then they're going to kind of be part of society again. And that ticks me off. It ticks me off that we have gloaters and people who are boasting and like, woo, yeah. It ticks me off that we have people who are swearing, preaching a doom and gloom, and even just saying, well, I give up. I'm just going to take my ball and go home. That ticks me off because no matter who the president is, we can still make a difference. We can still continue to do great things for our country just because the person we voted for didn't become president, or even the person we did voted for became president. That doesn't necessarily mean we have to stop and just say, okay, who's ever in charge, we're just going to be sheep and we're just going to blindly follow what the leader says. No. We too can initiate change within our communities if we become participants and we continue to do things. And when I think about Jesus, when I think about other powerful leaders like Martin Luther, or even like Martin Luther King, Martin Luther Yeah, all those guys. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm on a roll. My mind's going through. But Jesus, Gandhi, Martin Luther King. These were not people who were in high esteems of power. These were not people who were descending on clowns or ascended thrones to make real powerful change. These were people who were born just like us. These were people who continued to work with people. They were everyday people who continued to work and do ordinary things to help people. And through their actions, they were able to make the ordinary extraordinary. I mean, Jesus was able to do a lot of great things from his time on earth, and he was born in a manger. Gandhi said that you must be the change you want to see in the world. So a lot of change has to happen with you. And yeah, I'm, again, being a pastor and being a Christian, I believe that no matter who is the president, that God is still in control over everything. But also the thing I learned from the gospel, and especially from the apostles in the New Testament, is that it was just everyday people doing extraordinary things. It was people acting to be there for the orphans, to be there for the widows, that was really making the rapid changes in the community. Not the Caesars, not the kings, but ordinary people. So as I conclude in these thoughts, I know some of you are happy. I know some of you are discouraged. But at the same time, we're all on the same playing field. So we can do these live Facebook feeds and podcasts and everything else and going, oh, doom and gloom is coming because Trump's president. Or, yay, great things are happening because Trump is president. Ha, 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 Democrats. What we truly need to be is we need to be united people continuing to do great things and good things within our communities. And again, like my friend from Kenyon said, change doesn't happen from the top to the bottom. Change always happens in America from the bottom to the top. So for those of you who don't like the way things have come, or you're worried about what's going to happen to your friends or what's going to happen in the future, you know what? Volunteer somewhere. Instead of crying about it or complaining about it or ranting about it on Facebook, actually go out into your community and do something. Do something helpful. Do something productive. Help. Be part of this. Help out. Maybe educate people who may not have the means to be able to vote. Take them next time if they can't drive or if they're paralyzed. Help people, help read the kids so that they can learn how to read, so that when they become adults they can read newspapers, they could think critically and be able to make their own decisions instead of just watching smear ads and basing their opinion based on, well, I don't like that Trump said this, but I also don't like that Hillary said this, and they don't really do any more investigation than that. So again, you have the power to be able to make change in this world. That's what our founders who founded this country believed, that it was just ordinary people who could do extraordinary things. And we can do the same thing no matter what your viewpoint is on this whole entire election and its results. So again, thank you so much for listening to me. Hopefully you enjoyed this podcast, and I hope you have a great day. And again, if you and again, like I said, instead of just trying to be cruel or rubbing things in people's face or decide to hide or get mad and angry, let's put everything aside. Let us be respectable and be able to work together to really make true, impactful, lasting changes in the communities that we serve. All right, thank you so much. I hope you have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.